I think politics comes out of personality. I'm going to do something extensive on this one day, but personalities. Your personality first. I know people who are conservative politically because I know them. That's just who they are. They're squares. And that's okay. And there are people who just, they think Trump is fun like that. I don't get it, but I don't get Taylor Swift. You know, not that I'm comparing them, but I'm just saying.
I bet you would have bumped me for Taylor Swift, too.
What's this?
You would have bumped me for Taylor Swift,
in a New York.
Exactly.
Of course I would.
Everybody else is turning you down.
I'd bump Kamala for Taylor Swift.
In today's clip, Van Jones joins Bill Maher for a conversation full of surprising twists. Van Jones claims that Americans owe gratitude to Black and Jewish communities for their contributions to American democracy, a thought-provoking claim that Bill Maher challenges with his own controversial take, that Christopher Columbus was actually Jewish. Maher admits that if he had the chance to feature Taylor Swift on his show, he'd even bump Vice President Kamala Harris for her. But perhaps the most striking moment comes when Bill Maher asks Van Jones directly what he thinks about New York City Mayor Eric Adams' recent statements that charges against him and Sean Diddy Combs are rooted in racism against black men. This question prompts a noticeable dodge from Van Jones, steering the conversation back to broader themes. Also, if you enjoy content like this, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a ton. Back to the video.
He's a CNN host and author of the Van Jones Substack, Van Jones, and he's the 43rd governor of Colorado, Jared Polis. Okay. For Van, what explains the fracture between Jews and blacks on the left, and how can an alliance be restored? Well, I guess they're talking about the old 60s when Jews were prominent in the civil rights movement and went in the South, and some of them got killed. And
along with that, listen, 1909, blacks and Jews' backs were against the wall. We had actual apartheid here. It's so bad that what we were doing in the U.S. South inspired Hitler. It inspired the Afrikaners in South Africa. What we were doing here, blacks and Jews' backs against the wall, created an organization together, a Black-Jewish alliance. It was called the NAACP. Okay. Next year, they created an organization together called that we now call the Urban League. So this has been every decade in the whole last century. A disproportionate share of what was deepening and defending democracy were African Americans who believed in justice for all and Jewish activists who believed in repairing the world. And so we basically co-authored and co-created what you now call American democracy. In fact, if you like American democracy, thank a black and thank a Jew. You're welcome. So there is a deliberate effort on the part of Iran and Russia and China to drive a wedge and to make sure that every African American under the age of 30.
Well, they're getting a lot of help. They're getting a lot of help from people who want to divide the world into colonizers and colonized, and the oppressed and the oppressors. This is how a lot of the youth come to see what's going on in Gaza as some sort of an extension of the civil rights movement in America, when it has nothing to do with it.
But the thing is, there's some dumb ideas on the left, or some reductionist ideas on the left, but we also have geopolitical adversaries that are jumping on that and making it worse than it should be. And I think what we got to remember is, even if we don't agree on what's happening overseas, black people can agree that hostages should be freed. We came over here as hostages. We're not for hostages. Black people should be able to agree that hate crimes against Jewish people are wrong. We stood up for Muslims when they were getting jumped on after 9/11. We stood up for Asians when they were getting jumped on after COVID. We just stood up for Jews. We should be able to agree that Hamas is not a freedom-fighting organization. They're a freedom-taking Nazi organization. They did not deserve black support. And we should be able to agree. We should be able to agree that both Palestinians and Israelis deserve a secure homeland. So there are issues that, if we just disagree with what's happening in Gaza, don't like Bibi Netanyahu, there are other issues that we should be working together on. I'm fighting for that.
I won't add much, but I want to say Kamala Harris, Doug Emhoff, the Black-Jewish Alliance.
Yay, there it is. It lives.
All right, for the panel, what does the panel think of Trump doing Joe Rogan's podcast today, and is it a mistake for Kamala not to do it? Yeah, I think it is a mistake. I think it's a mistake she didn't do this show.
Yeah, did you invite her? Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, we didn't invite her.
Of course she should.
We would have bumped you for her. I hate to say it. I hate to tell you. I hate to tell you.
Yeah, and there's still time, I hope, and I know she's going to be campaigning in Texas. I hope she does, the podcast. I think the more people see of Kamala Harris, the more they like her. She needs to get out there. I think some of that is a staff reticence that they had because of Joe Biden, which you couldn't put out there. We understand that. You can put her out there. She's terrific. She's likable. She's joyous. She's fun. She's clever. Get her out there.
Boy. For a guy who's not an official surrogate, you're on the waiting list. What did the panel think of Trump's stint as fry cooker at McDonald's?
Kamala Harris likely wouldn't want to face an interview with Joe Rogan, and for good reason. Rogan's podcast is known for its unfiltered style, where guests face tough, direct questions, and Rogan himself isn't afraid to challenge political narratives. For Harris, who often sticks to safe, pre-scripted environments, this could be a nightmare scenario. The unpredictable nature of Rogan's interviews would make it hard for her to control the conversation, and she might even have to answer for some of her more controversial positions without the usual media cushion. Another big reason Harris would avoid Rogan's podcast: Rogan's audience includes plenty of independent thinkers and people who are skeptical of the current administration's policies. Harris would be stepping into a space where listeners demand real answers, not rehearsed sound bites. Instead, it's clear she's sticking to platforms where the audience is more likely to go along with her talking points, and where she doesn't have to risk exposing her policies to the kind of scrutiny that Rogan's listeners would bring.
You know, I mean, I already addressed this. You know, it's like they see him differently.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant.
Yes.
I think when you have somebody who is a world-famous superstar, who's a billionaire, et cetera, and they do something you don't expect, it's brilliant media. And I think we got to acknowledge that this guy is beating the pants off of us with these so-called publicity stunts. It gets into everybody's feeds, and people who are not looking at politics will look at that. I think we just have to have more fun ourselves. We were having a great time during the Democratic convention. If we have more fun, if the Democratic Party is a party of fun, people will join it. We should be doing crazy stuff too.
And if I might add one more thing, it's like, don't immediately just go to, I hate him for that.
Yeah.
Which is what, but everybody I know here in Hollywood does that. And it's like, you're first of all, you look weak. You look weak. You look like you're so easily gotten.
Yes.
You know, you look like you overreact to anything. I think politics comes out of personality. I'm going to do something extensive on this one day, but personalities. Your personality first. I know people who are conservative politically because I know them. That's just who they are. They're squares. and that's okay. And there are people who just, they think Trump is fun like that. I don't get it, but I don't get Taylor Swift. You know?
One thing we have to acknowledge about Van Jones and Bill Maher is their ability to cut through the noise and speak with genuine honesty, even if it goes against the grain. They're not afraid to step out of the usual political echo chambers and give credit where it's due, even to someone as polarizing as Donald Trump. In an era where many in Hollywood and the media seem quick to overreact or toe a party line, it's refreshing to see personalities like Van Jones and Bill Maher who don't simply fall in line. They recognize that Trump's success is rooted in his personality and his ability to connect with everyday Americans in a way few politicians do.
Not that I'm comparing them, but I'm just saying.
I bet you would have bumped me for Taylor Swift too.
What's this?
You would have bumped me for Taylor Swift.
Oh, in a New York.
Exactly.
Of course I would.
Everybody else is turning you down.
I'd bump Kamala for Taylor Swift. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I agree with you.
She's a classy person, and the success she's had, the influence she's had is amazing. I just, not
your cup of tea.
Nikki Glaser was doing my podcast, and I was like, I don't get this, Nikki. You've been to 18 concerts. Tell me. And she's like, the music is so amazing. And she said, just watch the Eras tour. It's a 3-hour thing on Apple, I think. And Okay, did not move the needle at all. This is not great music to me, but that's just me. I don't get her music, and I don't think Trump's jokes about Arnold Palmer's dick are funny, but other people do. It's not relevant.
So for those of us who love Taylor Swift, and I'm a big Swiftie, that is some of the fun that Kamala Harris is bringing into politics. So I did a Swifties for Kamala kickoff in Nevada, where I was just campaigning for her. We got all this energy, exchanging friendship bracelets and having fun. So there's a lot of joy there, Bill. And I'll give you your friendship bracelet too.
Knock yourself out. I love all the joy and all the everything that, she does great stuff, but, I just don't get the music. All right. What are your thoughts on the Menendez brothers' potential being released on parole, and is it a positive sign for proponents of criminal justice reform? Well, what does it say about the difference between, if anything, between now and 30 years ago, how we look at the law? And also, obviously, it has a lot to do with the Netflix series. I think it's Netflix that just came out, which, I haven't seen all of it, but the parents, I didn't watch too much of it, but enough to go, oh, wow, I'd have blown their heads off, too. And maybe these kids have been in jail for too long.
Yeah, look, I don't know much about the case. I know that Kim Kardashian played a role as well, and I think that people a few years ago were kind of laughing her off. Oh, she's not serious about this stuff. Kim Kardashian has become one of the most effective criminal justice advocates in the country, surprising a lot of people. And I think we need more people who have that kind of power taking on some tougher causes. A lot of times celebrities get involved in let's put mittens on kittens, something that nobody's gonna get mad about, And so good for Kim Kardashian.
Okay. What are the chances this election plays out like the midterms in 2022 when women came out to vote to protect reproductive rights? Well, I'm going to jump in first on that because I read an interesting story in the paper yesterday, which might not be so good for that, which said they thought when a lot of these states went medieval on abortion, there'd be less abortions, actually more, because pills. Women get the pills in the mail, the abortion pill, the RU-486, I am, and also telemedicine. You can get doctors in different states. So, it did not have the effect. It's still wrong, but it didn't have the effect that people thought it would. So therefore, it might not have the political effect. I don't know if Democrats can count on this as much as they thought they could.
Well, I think in Pennsylvania, because it's not a big issue there, I think we may not have the turnout, but I think even though people have been able to get around it, you can't get around when you have a medical complication. And when you see these stories of women bleeding out in parking lots, those stories ripple out bigger than just the numbers, the qualitative impact
on women.
See, this is what the Democrats do. They exaggerate the effects of the new abortion laws, suggesting that women are left bleeding in hospital parking lots without care, when the reality is more nuanced. Emergency medical interventions, such as for ectopic pregnancies and severe miscarriages, are still legally available in most states, with healthcare providers equipped to handle life-threatening situations. Instead of acknowledging these safeguards, Democrats focus on extreme scenarios, fueling anxiety to push a political agenda. While these laws are complex and deserve discussion, spreading fear distracts from a balanced understanding of how healthcare is actually addressing these issues.
And turning out higher numbers from your mouth to goddess's ears. But look, this is obviously a winning issue for Democrats. There's no question it polls in Democrats' favor. That's men and women. But it is not the only winning issue. And I think when you do talk about choice and the right of people over their own reproductive health, you do have to talk about how you're going to help make sure that people can raise their kids in a loving environment, free preschool and kindergarten, tax credits for families that can't afford it. I mean, all those things that go into really having wonderful families across our country, including empowering women to decide if and when they have children.
I'm for that. I'm for that.
All right, this week, LeBron James and his son Bronny made history being the first father-son duo to play together in the NBA. Okay, well, I don't even want what the question is. I didn't like it. I'm just going to give you...
Tell me why. Why not?
I'll tell you why. I did one of my best editorials here one night talking about sports, the last bastion of utter merit.
Sure.
This is why people love sports. Everything else is tainted. Modeling used to be just merit. They'd have to go into a village in the Ukraine and find a 14-year-old, who was like freakishly good looking. Well, now even the models, a lot of them are Nepo babies. Nepo babies in politics, Nepo babies in everything. The one place where you could for sure know that the people who were there were absolutely the best, not only in the country, in the world, was sports. And this is the one, the Lakers. They're a great team, but they did this with Kobe's last year. They made that more about that and his retiring than it was about winning that year. And this is, I don't like it.
Well, I don't know anything at all about sports, and so
come on.
I really don't.
Look, if Shohei Ohtani has kids, somebody's going to draft him at age 2, because that guy can play.
Yeah,
and,
but if
Dodgers.
the kid can't play, he
they're not
won't
gonna
make
play.
the team.
No, but you want.
There's no way that kid is on the team, LeBron James' son, if he wasn't LeBron James' son. LeBron James wanted to have this moment, this photo op, this first ever.
I'm a Nuggets fan anyway, so if other teams, define the meritocracy and the Lakers are putting subpar talent on the field, more power to the Nuggets.
All right, well, then here's a follow-up question for you. What about this, that Columbus was a Jew?
Oh, okay. So when I was growing up...
You didn't hear this?
Bill, when you and I were growing up, Columbus was a hero and explorer, discovered the New World. Of course, he was Christian and Italian. The minute he became a colonizer, he became Jewish. I mean, seriously. That's how it goes.
That's a great answer. I mean, no, if you missed the story, they dug him up. He was buried, I think, somewhere in Spain. His body was first buried in the New World. Well, he never even set foot in America, but okay, somewhere. And then they transferred it. I forget where it went. But they dug him up, got the DNA. Of course, they don't know this for a certain, but they're pretty sure that he probably was Jewish. I don't know what.
That had always been rumored in Jewish circles, was he? Wasn't
Really?
he? Well, 1492 was the same year the Jews were expelled from Spain.
Yes, correct.
And it was also noted that there were some Jews on his voyage. I think his translator was Jewish, so it was rumored. But at that time, as I said, Columbus was a hero when we were growing up. And so, but yeah, it looks like he was verified. He was of at least some Sephardic origin. So another tidbit for the history books.
Van, what do you think of P. Diddy and Mayor Adams in New York, both saying that they're just penalizing successful black men?
Oh, look, a rabbit. Look at this.
A rabbit? No? Come on.
I don't want to talk about it. I'm not that courageous. Let's move on. Let's talk about Jews.
We should really think about the implications of Van Jones's evasive approach and ask yourself, are public figures addressing the root of these questions, or are they avoiding uncomfortable truths? What's your take on the conversation between Bill Maher and Van Jones? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss out on any of our updates.